Sumbui sana. So hey guys, welcome to YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the fintech and the fintech market. We are going to discuss what fintech is, its impact on the global economy. We're going to discuss also fintech in Kenya, and we're going to look at how Kenya influenced a big research on fintech that the research in Kenya affected fintech in the world. We're going to look at fintech in a few countries, and we're going to start right now. So if you're new here, please like and subscribe. So when you hear about fintech, it means financial technology. So that means every transaction you do on your phone, every transaction you do on a website, every transaction you make that is digital on a computer is usually done through software that transacts money. So if you look at the early fintech startups, for example, PayPal is a form of fintech, and if you look at PayPal, it started in the earlier times. Maybe I'm not sure, but probably before the 2000s, PayPal was to compete to be able allow the internet bubble to be able to use digital money. So PayPal was founded by Elon Musk, and he sold it for I think sold it for a lot of money. And if you look at the evolution of fintech, it evolved to things like online payments, and not just online payments, but also online banking. People started using, with the rise of the internet, people started using, websites to pay for things. People started doing online shopping, which promoted a lot of fintech products to be created around e-commerce. And basically, most companies started getting into fintech. And recently, during the COVID pandemic, investors who invest in fintech companies invested $135 billion from $45 billion before the pandemic. So hundreds of fintech startups started, and most of them are valued at a very high value. So even in Nigeria, there's a fintech company that was acquired by it's called the fintech that was acquired is called Paystack. It was acquired by an American company called I love to look it up, but Paystack was a fintech company in Nigeria. And if you look at Nigeria, there are so many fintech companies that they are founded, and the fintech industry is really growing. If you look at Kenya, M-Pesa was like the blueprint for most fintech for most fintech research. Most countries came to Kenya to research about M-Pesa, how M-Pesa started, how M-Pesa affected the way we transact. And 98% of Kenyans use M-Pesa, and 98% of households. So if you look at M-Pesa has allowed 2% out of the 98% to move out of extreme poverty. So M-Pesa is used heavily within Kenya. I think anyone who comes to Kenya must register to M-Pesa and start transacting, because it's the easiest way to send and receive money. It's easier than going to the bank or doing any banking transactions. And M-Pesa also has brought rise to other fintech startups like Branch, Talalon. It also has brought the rise to mobile lending. And just M-Pesa on its own has really changed the ecosystem. Even e-commerce, people pay with M-Pesa online. There's businesses receive money through M-Pesa, till numbers, and pay bills, and Pochi la Biashara, and just a normal transaction. Even nowadays in matatus, it's normal to pay with M-Pesa. If you don't have cash, you can just give the conductor your phone, and they'll put in the number, and you can just send. So I think fintech, it's something that people probably don't look into, because it involves a lot of finance, a lot of understanding how money works, and I think that's why it's so valuable, because ultimately transactions are what makes economies grow. The more transactions, the better. And I think we speculated, Josh, companies like Alipay and Apple Pay are growing really to become the new Visas and the new MasterCards of tomorrow. So I think we can, maybe you can say something about, something, how fintech has affected the economy. For me, I can say it's brought a lot of positive impact to the globe. Right now you can send and receive money from US to Kenya with something like Cash App, and you can withdraw it in your M-Pesa. So that sort of thing where I don't have to hold cash in my hand. It's going to change, even if you look at cryptocurrency, it's going to change basically how people do and innovate. Because now you're looking at, if you look at innovation, you don't have to go to someone to give you money to buy something. You can just market your innovation online and people will send you money. If you look at platforms like platforms that raise money for projects, they're called, what are they called? Crowdfunding platforms. Those are the kind of platforms that are, they're invented because of fintech. So I think the future of fintech is it's all about the internet and things like mobile banking and international money transfers, and all that is, it's all going to evolve even further. So maybe Josh, you can tell us something about what you think.
Uh, like you were saying, like M-Pesa was like, especially in Kenya, was like the first fintech. And like thinking about
Mm,
fintech, the fact that it's possible now, it has also brought rise to so many businesses, especially in the African continent.
mm,
Uh,
mm,
Businesses like betting have really flourished because of uh, you know some kind of fintech where you people
mm,
have money in their have mobile money where you can bet on the go. So it has really made this
mm,
company, rather than like a country, you could find like for example a country like Kenya, the betting industry was more profitable than Nigeria some few years back, because Nigeria you had to go and deposit money in the bank and then place your bet, which is a lot of,
mm, mm,
but with with you having money on your phone, it's easy to place the bet, and the companies make a lot of money. Although that now also needs to be regulated, because now you find that also these companies now have even underage who are betting, because anyone
mm,
can have a phone. But I think the future of fintech is very bright, and personally I feel like through fintech, being able to send money to the village, where it wasn't possible like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. But now, because if
mm,
you're living in a capital city, especially in Africa, you send money to the village, that your grandmother, it gets to them today. They can buy food and stuff. So it creates a whole
mm,
kind of ecosystem. And if you look at even developed countries like America, Britain, fintech is more of an easier solution, not to to
mm,
go through the bank, because
mm,
bank requires a lot of to get a loan from the bank, you need a lot of paperwork. But fintech is more of
mm,
how is your credit score, do you look trustworthy? At least even if your credit score is not that good, you can withdraw something. Let me just say that, yeah,
yeah.
you can't get out nil. So I think with where you're heading the world, I even feel like fintech is a future, eventually. And this form of transaction has even forced banks to adopt to be fintech minded. Most banks are now doing online, you know because
Mm,
now even banks have entered into the fintech market of lending people.
mm,
Fintech has its limitation. You can't borrow large amounts of money, but at the basic level, it gives you the money that you need for an emergency. Mostly for most people borrow
mm,
for emergency, which you know, and it doesn't require a lot of paperwork. So it's much easier for you to work with that. And you can see even banks are now realizing that they need to tap on this customer base, rather than just relying on the big loans. They also the small loans
mm,
can
mm,
uh, can make some money. Because if you look in a country like Kenya, the fintech market is millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of million of dollars, and this is well, this is not like a well developed country. And if you look at the fintech market, it's expected to be hit $1 trillion by 2030. So
Mm,
this is like a trend that has started. You can't stop it. But I feel
mm,
like fintech mostly is meant to address the middle and low income population. That's why it's thriving, because those are the majority of the population. If you're a big guy, you really won't rely so much on fintech. But
yeah.
especially to the fintech side, I'm speaking of the fintech of borrowing loans. It is meant
Mm,
to cushion the middle and the low, especially since you're saying it grew in COVID time, because that's when people needed this kind of money. People have no jobs.
mm,
Yeah, just to push themselves. That's why you can see fintech really, really grew uh, internationally. Remember, even in Kenya, even M-Pesa pushed the withdraw. How much money you could have in your own
yeah, yeah, yeah.
account.
Mm,
It put from
mm,
200,000, I think, to 300,000, if I'm
mm,
not wrong. Yeah, and then even the
mm,
withdrawing, how much you could withdraw days, because they realized that this was becoming very needed, especially in time of COVID, where business are down, people might need
mm,
money, and
mm,
because I remember even the first time I had applied for a fintech loan, I had no. It was a loan of 3,000 shillings. That's like $30, and I remember. Uh, I didn't even have require a lot. I just had to, put my name in, and then I get the money. So, I feel like that convenience really helps a lot of people to approach this kind of business very differently. And it's also like what I said, like uh, so so welcome. The issue might be that fintech also is creating a lot of you know I would say that most people that borrow money from fintech don't intend to use it to better their lives. It's more of a quick fix solution. So you find that the money probably, the fintech market is growing, but the money being given to the people, is it life changing? I doubt. It's more of
mm.
a solution, right there.
Temporary solution. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not more of a temporary,
Mm.
like a business solution, because it's hard for you to convince me that you're using fintech uh, to grow your
To
business.
better some, yeah.
Yeah,
Because if you think about it, like for fintech to give you money, for example, the instant loan apps, where in Kenya,
yeah.
you download the app. What they do, you put in your details, you put in some contacts. So what they do, they go through your messages. They have algorithms that search all your messages and see all the transaction you've ever done. So they can detect if it's an M-Pesa transaction, a bank transaction. They can detect any kind of transaction you've ever done that has come through SMS. They also check things like how much data you use, how much you pay for airtime, how much you pay for internet, all these bills, sometimes that shows you the power of M-Pesa. All those transactions people make, ordering from a food app,
Mm-hmm.
using something like Uber, they check all those and see that your credit score, since you spend this amount of money, they can check and see you probably went to a restaurant and paid certain amount, and
Mm-hmm.
you do all these things, and they can check and see if you spend 50,000 in 6 months, they can give you 3,000 shillings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why sometimes it's so easy to get a loan up. But once you default that loan, you're put into CRB and you can never be given any other loan from any other
Mm-hmm.
loaning app. But the problem is probably the reason why people default, it's because you're given the 3,000 and maybe you borrowed the loan from the loan app and you're given 3,000 shillings, and maybe it's the beginning of the month, let's say it's first, and you're expecting money on the 15th of the next month, for
Mm-hmm.
example. So that's almost 45 days. Usually they give you around 5 days, sometimes it's even 3 days to pay back the loan, which most people never are able to do. So
Mm-hmm.
by the time that creates some kind of disloyalty. So by
Mm-hmm.
the time you're ready to pay, you even don't want to pay it because
Mm-hmm.
you're
You,
you've
the
been
you the thing.
you've been, and then and then you're given 7 days to pay back. If you borrowed 3,000 shillings, you're asked to pay back 4,000 shillings, which
The
is
interest rate
very
is very
high.
high.
You know, the interest rate is very high. You feel like you're being cheated. So most people don't pay back. And that's why you see that 14 million Kenyans on CRB in Kenya. It's because of those loan apps. Because even there's a whole segment on the media where people borrowed up to 120,000 shillings from different loan apps, and they came out saying, I'm not gonna pay, put me on CRB, I'm not gonna pay, because the interest rate is so high, the time to pay is so minimum. If they actually gave people around 6 months or 7 months to pay a 3,000 shilling loan, I think they would have had a much better success rate,
But I think
because
that's the
someone would,
catch. Because the catch is
yeah.
that you get to them, you're getting this money the easy way. You're not providing any
Mm,
title, collateral.
yeah, yeah,
You're just
yeah.
getting money. So to
So
them,
they
they see
take
that,
advantage.
yeah. And people need to understand that fintechs have the highest interest rate, nini, higher,
Mm,
higher than even banks. And you
yeah.
can compare fintechs to Sherlock's. It's like you're borrowing money from some kind
Mm,
of a dealer. The
mm,
interest rate
mm,
is very high. The payment
mm,
duration is very low. And studies,
mm,
like when you look at why people don't commit to fintech when paying back their loan, it's also another thing. Most of the borrowers, like 80% of the borrowers, have no intent of paying back the loan. To them, these
mm.
because the loan is taken with
It's
the
like free
mentality of a
money.
quick
Mm,
fix. Like
mm.
if I'm
And
having,
if you, yeah, and
like
if
me,
you
when
think
I
about
borrowed,
the,
me, I had
yeah.
a flat tire and an issue, so I
Mm,
had
mm,
to borrow because I didn't have the money there.
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but you see, after you fix the tire,
Mm,
the issue goes away. So you feel like
mm.
I should,
And
when you go
since
and
it's an
chill.
emergency,
Yeah,
yeah,
when
since
the
it's an
emergency is
emergency, you,
over,
you feel
you
like it's
relax.
free money.
Yeah.
Yeah, because now if you borrowed it for, maybe to say, maybe you needed to buy something to sell. Let's say you needed it for business,
Yeah.
you'd have paid back because you're probably going to need another emergency loan for your
Emergency.
business.
Yeah.
But the fact that you borrowed that money and it disappeared into fixing a tire, you
Yeah.
don't feel the need. So I think the psychology they used was, apparently, the loan apps in Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
they after Tala and Branch,
Mm-hmm.
they came up with, like, I remember last year during COVID especially,
Mm-hmm.
they came up with so many apps. So many apps came up, around 50 or 40 apps came
Mm-hmm.
up, and they were in the market.
Mm-hmm.
So these apps are really, really lending heavily. But now their strategy was debt shaming. And they got that strategy from China, where, in China,
Mm-hmm.
their society is different from ours. In China, debt shaming works because you don't want to embarrass yourself that you can't pay
Mm-hmm.
back a loan that you
And
borrowed.
also
But in Kenya,
in China, just to add that the kind of
mm,
system of debt shaming also, it involves, if you are, if these things start getting out, it limits you from getting some government services, jobs.
yeah, it affects,
It
and
affects your whole ecosystem, so you have to
yeah,
commit.
and the system in China works. China
Yeah.
has a very advanced. They even have a scoring system where
Mm-hmm.
citizens are scored according to how they behave and how
They
they.
behave. Yeah.
But in Kenya, it's a wild west. No one really cares. In fact, the more they, I remember even me, I was in a situation where
Mm-hmm.
some people were called because they didn't pay back a loan in 7 days.
Yeah.
And when they called you, they really talked.
So
They
even
abused
you are
you.
in a quick fix.
Even me, I was like, okay, even me, it's going to be difficult to pay back because, first of all, you've abused me. I'm going to pay back at the time when
Yeah.
I feel like I'm comfortable to pay, because, it felt like free money,
Yeah.
and it fixed a very temporary issue. And I think that's how 14 million Kenyans became inside, because at debt collectors, in
Mm-hmm.
fact, if you look at the customer care industry, they tell you the worst customer care job to work is a debt collector, because
Mm-hmm.
people even fail to pay back 5 shillings. People fail to pay back 100 shillings, because the way they approach you, they abuse you, they talk trash,
Mm-hmm.
and they make you feel like that 3,000 is worth like 2 trillion, or so much money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it, it worked against them, because, people now, they killed their own business. If you're putting people in CRB and then abusing them for failing to pay back the money,
Mm-hmm.
most people will be like, okay, I can survive without the paying back the money either way,
Yeah.
you know. And then at that time, the government came by and said, okay, you guys who are in CRB and borrowed those loan apps, you're being forgiven. Now you see, it works against them all the time because they're giving you a very short time frame. You know, if you look at the reason why SACCOs, they succeed so much, it's because they can give you up to 3 years to pay back a loan. You know, they can give you even and they give you based on your credit score. You can save in a SACCO for 6 months. If you saved 60,000, they can give you a loan of 3 times the amount, and they give you a small interest rate, and they give you a good time frame to pay back. So you feel with a SACCO, they give you a good amount of money to even open up a business. They
But they
give
need
you a good time
collateral
frame
also.
to, yeah, they need collateral, but
Yeah.
even if they need collateral, it still makes you, it's all about how someone perceives the service. You know,
Okay.
if SACCOs are abusing people and calling you nonsense and all those things, and they're expecting you to use their services, it's not gonna work. And you look at loan apps, if you research right now, it's difficult for them to even issue money because the blowback was very, very devastating. You know, you can imagine you've given a loan of almost 4 billion shillings, and then none of it comes back.
Okay.
You know, and you can't, these contracts, you can't be taken, in Kenya, I don't think you can be taken to jail. They usually auction you out. So they come and take your laptop or whatever, or your headphones, like, and then, they can't really recover that money because, I remember people are downloading even 5, 6 apps. Yeah, so I think fintech, Safaricom laid the framework for fintech in mostly Africa and countries abroad, especially the mobile messaging system, whereby Safaricom was very simple. You didn't need a very it was SMS, so that means even if you had a 2G phone or the most basic phone you can find, you can still access the M-Pesa services, and all you needed was a SIM card and a phone that can use a SIM card. And if you look at Americans, the reason why fintech, such SMS system, didn't work in America, it's because America introduced the credit card, I think, was it the 1970s? So the credit card was used for all the payments, online payments, things like PayPal used credit card, and they didn't feel the need to use some kind of system where you have SMS. You know, the reason why M-Pesa worked so well in Kenya is because not everyone had access to banks. But in America, almost everyone had access to banks because the banking system was the only way to track people's taxes and all those things. And I think the rise of when in Kenya people discovered that you can send money through texts, and all you needed was a phone, that and the success of it made other people think, can this work in other countries? Because even WhatsApp introduced fintech in India. Actually, India is another growing economy that is using fintech very heavily, and they're saying in the most developed countries, at least 2 out of 3 people use 2 apps on their phone for banking services and mobile money services. So fintech is something that I think right now, if your business isn't doing any form of online payment, I think you're losing out on a big amount of customers.
Okay.
Because you can imagine, if you opened up a business right now today in 2022 and in August 2022, and you didn't have, in Kenya, if you didn't have any form of M-Pesa, even if it's 10 shillings, you'd lose out on a lot of customers.
Yeah.
Because most people are paid with M-Pesa, and even 10 shillings, you just have to figure out a way. Even if you need that 10 shillings, you just have to figure out a way. People are paying with 10 shillings with M-Pesa, you just have to wait for a threshold to reach over 100 shillings for you to withdraw. Because I think even in China, you're telling me they're going to full cashless system, whereby you just pay everything without and I think that's what's creating a lot of billionaires and millionaires in China, because the money is coming instantly to your account. If you think about, even in Kenya, I'm still wondering why people still prefer to pay with cash. I don't know why people feel like cash is a more secure way of making payments.
I think
About
it's because people haven't still gotten used. Although when you look in Kenya, is even more cashless than even some developed countries. Like, because we've been used to that kind of system. But probably if you compare with guys like China, we can't, but I feel like anyone in Kenya knows how to use M-Pesa. I feel like even if you live in Turkana.
But yeah, I think it might be, come to think of it, now that you mentioned, I think it might be the transaction cost. I think they're very expensive.
Yeah.
That's why someone prefers to
Because also
withdraw cash
transaction
and use
cost
cash.
is a fintech, like,
Yeah,
it's
it all
expensive.
makes them billions. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
expensive. Because I think if you look at the cost of running a fintech, I think the cost of security is very, very expensive. Because if you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about running
And
running
risk,
a system that,
that's why
and risk is very high. They
that's
have
why
to
the
pay, they
interest is
probably
so
have to
high.
pay a lot of insurance. They have to pay a lot of
Not even,
insurance.
I'm not even talking about the insurance, but I'm like risk of getting away, because you're loaning to people who might not pay you back. That's why
No,
the
I'm not talking about loaning. I'm talking
yeah.
about something like M-Pesa. M-Pesa,
No,
insuring
I'm just saying, yeah,
themselves.
I'm just saying in terms of
Mm,
risk on the customer, not risk
yeah,
on the
yeah.
on the
Oh,
employer.
okay.
Like
On the
the
customer,
reason,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the interest rate might be very high is because
Mm,
risk on the customer is much higher.
mm,
If you loan 100 people, only like 20 are gonna return. So the interest rate has to be
mm,
so high that even if the 20 pay, they like pay for their
now I
100.
understand what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
because
So
these
what?
people are not giving you anything. You are just left
Yeah,
with a word of
because
mouth,
what you're
like, I
saying
will give you,
is,
I will
yeah.
repay back.
Because if you think about it, since the transaction fees are very high for someone to give you 3,000, they must have spent maybe 50 shillings
Hmm.
or 100 shillings to send you that 50,000, that
Yeah.
3,000, I mean. So they have to recover transaction costs. And I'm not sure if Safaricom has a bulk, like if you have so many transactions, if they reduce your cost.
Hmm.
But I think those are the things that they might probably look at when, the startup culture is really vibrant in Kenya, and
Hmm.
most people's businesses are now online.
Hmm.
And I think the person who will discover how to reduce cost for transaction fees in online payments is the person who's going to win, because if you look right now, if you think about the services you're using in your house
Hmm.
and the things you need in your house, for example, most household, they usually do shopping maybe once a month, and supermarkets are now growing, and supermarkets still take payments with most people pay with M-Pesa, few people pay with cash in supermarkets.
Hmm.
And if you think about it, the fact that till number is free, it makes people spend even more money. People prefer till number because people who use paybill, you find that they lose customers.
Hmm.
So if someone discovers how to make transaction fees in general, very cheap.
Hmm.
Although, if you think about it, it's very difficult for people to move from a secure platform like M-Pesa to something that
Yeah.
promises them that they'll have, cheaper transactions. Because I've looked at a company, I don't know, I don't want to mention its name, but this company promises, transactions from Africa to Kenya, Kenya to Nigeria. I mean, not like Kenya to Nigeria, Tanzania to Nigeria, intercontinental, not intercontinental, but
Why don't you want to mention its
Africa-wide
name?
payments. I don't want to be pinned because that's maybe a copyright issue, because it's not a good idea to mention companies if you don't really know what they're doing. But from what I've seen, that company's technology doesn't work.
Oh,
Like, you download the app,
okay.
you wait for so you find that such companies, it shows you that it's very difficult to maintain a heavy transaction based system,
Hmm.
whereby you have to verify a large number of people and transact money. That's a big, if you look at hackers in Europe and hackers in China,
Hmm.
hackers in these developed countries, they usually target heavily companies that receive money through online transactions. So if you look at building a fintech startup, you have to know heavily how this transaction system is going to work. Because if you have multiple bank accounts, multiple credit cards, multiple sensitive data that belongs to people, it's very likely that you'll be a target for someone to hack you or to target your service. Like I had in Kenya, some startups fail because they're usually hacked and all their money is stolen, because you find that most people, they receive their money but they don't transfer it to another. People don't really understand the security aspect of
Aspect of
financial
Fintech, yeah.
transactions. Yeah, and you find that it's very, very it's very scary, because if people can get into your code base and do all these things, it's very scary that they can hack your systems. And that's where you find that's why successful fintech startups are really heavily invested in, because it's a very valuable resource, to have a way to transact money anytime, anywhere in the world. And even right now we're having Starlink, where very soon we're going to have free internet. Maybe in the next 20 years, free internet will be a thing. And this is going to be powered by probably fintech startups, because they need people to be online for them to transact as much as possible. You find that online social media, giving gifts, when you go on TikTok and you're giving someone a gift, that's a form of fintech, because that's a gift that you have to buy and it's converted into money. So all this money moving around, it serves as a heavy target for the dark web and that sort of
yeah.
yeah.
Because
So what they're
Fintech
doing right
control
now,
billions. They control billions.
yes. So I saw a company that is hiring. I don't know the name, but it's a Web3 company. Basically, Web3 means any company that's interacting with the blockchain and the Ethereum. So this company is trying to invent a global identifier, whereby you don't need to register with your email and password. You just need to register with maybe a token. So this token will identify you on all platforms, Facebook, all these platforms, fintech. So what they're trying to do right now, they're trying to make you as a person not to be unhackable, so that someone cannot go to your account and steal your money without your verification. So these are the things that now you're looking at. Even if they do this, even if they discover all this technology, there's still going to be people who can replicate the technology. And that's why you're talking about people now that knowledge is becoming almost free in the internet. You're finding that even building a quantum computer it's going to be very simple. People are building quantum computers in the house. The machines used to make chips are very accessible. Even right now they have desktop milling machines that you can have something as small as a printer that can make chips. These are the kind of challenges that people are facing. And the fact that knowledge is very, very acquirable, it's making the fintech industry very, very competitive, whereby you have to come up with a very secure system that cannot be hacked. And you look, the company that bought, I remember the name, the company that bought Paystack is called Stripe. So Stripe is a 70 billion fintech company that deals with if you want to incorporate credit card into your app, use Stripe. And they have made it easier for someone who is in e-commerce to be able to integrate payments without the worry of being hacked or and they have a very rigorous system of verifying you, so that when the money comes in, it goes straight to your bank account. And if you look at a company like M-Pesa, they also have a very rigorous system of assuring that you get your money in your bank account. Because if you think about M-Pesa, it's a very I believe it's secure, but the way you implement on your end, it really matters. So if you think about your system, if you're building a fintech consuming like an e-commerce system, you need to be heavily versed in securing your servers, because at the heart of a server is operating system. So if someone can get access to that operating system, they can get access to everything. So that's why you use abstracted systems that are already ready-made. So you find cloud providers, they know all these things. So they give you a ready-made, pre-configured system that you can use to deploy a website. So the problem usually occurs when you give people too much access to your database. So there's always someone who's looking at these things and looking to hack. There's always someone who wants to steal, massive amounts of money. You
Because
hear when
also
hackers hack.
the stealing and hacking is also another industry. It's also
It's also another industry funded
another,
probably by other governments.
it's also another business. So So you can't have everything. That's
Yeah, you just need to be, be vigilant, because
Mhm.
nothing is finite, nothing is given, nothing is guaranteed.
Mhm.
You always have to be aware that nothing is guaranteed. So
Mhm.
you always have to always be secure. Even, in the future, even phones, people can be stealing your data, people can be accessing your information. And those are the things that companies are really investing, artificial intelligence.
Mhm.
If you look at an average smartphone in 2022, it has a fingerprint verification, facial recognition,
Mhm.
it has PIN, it has all these sorts of verification to ensure that it's your phone. Remember,
Mhm.
there's a time we checked the last login in our phones, and we saw there are some people who can log into your phone without you knowing.
Mhm.
You always have to keep checking. And
Mhm.
right now, there's this thing called two-factor verification, where you have to have a
Mhm.
device, and if you want to log in to certain services like cloud services, you have to have a
Mhm.
device like a phone or a flash disk. So if you lose that device, you can never get access to that cloud. Because I remember I also lost access to my cloud provider, whereby I lost my phone that I used to log into that platform,
Mhm.
but I could never log into that platform ever again. That was
They
the end
don't
of that
use
platform.
like Google how it uses other emails.
No,
Oh,
no.
those does too.
So,
Mm.
so basically, you have an app called Google Two Factor. So you
Mhm.
download it. So it stores authentication for your services. So if you're
Okay.
using cloud, if you're using credit card, but once you lose that phone and that app, you can never access those services.
Really?
So that's how serious, yeah, that's how serious it is. Because hackers are right now hacking everything. Very
Yeah.
soon you'll have hackers who have supercomputers, quantum computers, like
Yeah.
probably 100,000 quantum computers, and they start they even, that's something that can topple a government.
Mm.
But the good thing is, even the guys who the good guys also have the same
Yeah.
kind of machinery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you
So
can.
I think we'll end there, and thank you guys for logging in today,
Yeah.
and please like and subscribe.
Mhm.
We'll keep pushing videos every day, and thank you for being here.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.